Peace everyone, it's BlackHighPriestess. Hope you all can hear me. So, I'm gonna do that coconut cake that I was telling you all about. It's a coconut pound cake. And I got the recipe from using this coconut flour, making soufflés and things like that. And this is good for gluten-free cooking. And so it's a vanilla coconut pound cake recipe that I'm going to try. This is my first time trying it. And I'm going to modify it a little bit by doing it souffle style. So I have some aged egg whites, which I've let sit out for a couple days. And I got the souffle style and some of these things also from making macarons. So I've still been practicing making macarons. And I found out, you know, one of the best ways to make macarons is to age the egg whites. Sorry, my cats are going crazy right now. But so I left them out for a couple days. So hopefully that works. It worked with. I've had like a lot of trial and error with macarons, but I'm basically using that that style with the egg whites and souffle style. So what I'm going to do first is preheat the oven. It says to 350, and then spray a 9 by 5 inch loaf pan. So I'm just going to get some ingredients together. What I have here rinse my pan out first real quick. So I pretty much have like a 9 by 5 loaf pan. But what I'm going to do souffle style is use the coconut oil that goes with this recipe and just coat the pan and use some of this coconut palm sugar, which I'm going to try in a minute. But first I'm going to preheat the oven. And with baking, you have to really get used to your personal oven. Some recipes come from more high-end restaurants where they have more commercial equipment. Some recipes come from, you know, home recipes. Some recipes may come from small businesses where they have, you know, certain ovens for certain batches. So you really actually have to get used to your particular oven. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to preheat mine to 360. And that's because another thing I like to do is, if you have a bigger sheet pan than this one, than what I have, you can place this in a bigger sheet pan and fill it with water and let this sit in the water while the pound cake or whatever you have is baking. I always use that just to keep extra moisture in the oven. So that's why I'm going to turn the preheated up a notch to 360. And I've just had better luck in general with baking with putting my oven a little bit higher than the recipes. So I'm going to do that real quick. And then I'm going to fill this with water and put this in the oven also. And you don't have to do it while it's preheating. That will increase the moisture. You can always do it right before you put your pastry in. But just because I don't have a lot of space, well, I'll just leave it on the stovetop for now and let the oven actually preheat. But if you're kind of limited for space like I am in my kitchen, you know, that helps with just working. And so now I'm going to grease the pan with coconut oil. Usually I use olive oil, but this is a vanilla coconut pound cake, so I went all out with the coconut ingredients. I got everything coconut yogurt, vanilla yogurt, organic coconut palm sugar, coconut flakes. I got our organic coconut chunks, which I'm going to try. And I got everything that the recipe called for. So I'm going to go according to this recipe since I'm trying it, but I am going to add a couple things and modify it by doing the souffle style. And basically with the souffle style, since this recipe called for 2 eggs, what I did is I just separated the egg yolk and the egg whites. Age the egg whites, and here's the 2 egg yolks. So I just keep it at the right proportions for what the recipe says, since I'm first trying it out. And so I've oiled this up, and what I'm gonna do is taste this coconut palm sugar, this organic coconut palm sugar. I'm gonna taste it. See what I'm working with here. It's not working either. I keep my scissors handy. I obviously have pescatarian teeth. Can barely rip through anything, but it smells. It has a earthy, almost coffee, almost like a blonde coffee smell to it. Powdery, a bit starchy, nutty. So let's taste it. Wow. Wow. It's got a stevia, like plant sugar taste to it, and a hint of a molasses flavor, like a rich brown, super earthy, slightly bitter, like very subtle bitterness of that molasses flavor to it. So yeah, this will work. Interesting, but I like it. And it just sticks. So I'm just gonna, so again, the modification souffle style is I'm gonna let the sugar coat the pan, and I'm gonna let the leftovers fall well, actually I'll let the leftovers fall here into one of my mixing bowls here. So just give it a nice coat, and so that way the sugar will settle into the dough as everything's baking. Okay. And then the rest of the sugar will settle in there. I'm going to use some more of this coconut sugar in the recipe. So we got the pan ready, souffle style. And so next, I'm going to blend and sift the dry ingredients. Now that I've got a sugar rim on the pan, so I'm going to sift the dry ingredients. So first we have a cup of, it says Bob Bread Mill's gluten-free all-purpose flour, which I didn't have, and I couldn't find in time to, do this upload because I really wanted to do it this week. So I got another brand of gluten-free baking flour, but I definitely recommend using Bob Bread Mill's, as I like the energy of their flour and the versatility of their brand. So we have gluten-free baking flour nonetheless, and it says 1 cup, so I have a measuring glass here. So let's get 1 cup into this guide. I'm used to eyeballing, so measurements, I'm actually learning to work with measurements better, especially with trying to make macarons. It's mission impossible. Like, where's Tom Cruise when you need him? But it's fun, interesting, slightly therapeutic. Alright, oven's preheated. A little bit more. Alright, there we go. That's a good cup of the baking flour. I got a bowl here. So again, I got the leftover coconut sugar. So we got a cup of this gluten-free baking flour. Get rid of this. Then it says a 1/4 cup of Bob Red Mill's organic coconut flour, which is this. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this in. 1/4 cup. Alright. Not much, but I'm going to go with the flow. A little bit more than a 1/4 cup. I'm going to take a little bit out. I always say too much is better too much than not enough. So, just slightly over 1/4 cup of the coconut flour. And, yeah, 1/4 cup of coconut flour. 1/4 cup of brown rice flour. And I'm guessing this is because this is a gluten-free recipe. So I have some organic brown rice flour here. Gluten-free. So I'm working on baking, and I tried, working with some ingredients with the macarons, but I realized you really need like the stuff that I really don't like, white sugar, things like that. So as I do more, I want to use more gluten-free and vegan ingredients. So 1/4 cup of brown rice flour. Okay. A little bit more. Okay. There we go. 1/4 cup of brown rice flour in there. Look at this. And then 2 tablespoons of baking powder. And what I'm going to do is, since I am doing this souffle style, I use baking powder to kind of loosen up the eggs, the egg whites, as I beat them. So again, hopefully the meringue works out great. I've been practicing my meringues. So what I'm going to do, instead of putting the 2 tablespoons of baking powder, and I'm just going to check and see, 1 tablespoon, I'm going to, it says 2, 2 teaspoons. So, right. So what I'm going to do is, since it says 2 teaspoons, this is 1 teaspoon. So that's about how much to put in with the egg white. So I'm just going to put in 1.5 teaspoons. Since it's only 2 egg whites, not a lot. Just going to open this. So I have soap water here. So clumsy. And my trusty towel. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put 1.5 teaspoons into the dry ingredient mix here. And I'm going to put 1/2 teaspoon because I have this measuring thing here and it works out. And then I'm just going to put 1/2 teaspoon in the meringue. Shake up the baking powder. All these ingredients I got new and just to do this upload, so because I'm gonna be doing a lot more. I'm trying to work on my actual show and everything. But if you all have any questions about anything, let me know about anything metaphysical or spiritual. So like I said, and I'm just double checking, you know, measure twice, cut once. 2 tablespoons of baking powder. So like I said, I'm going to do 1. And again, with gluten-free vegan cooking, when you don't have the dairy in certain things, yeast and stuff, you have to compensate in different ways to make sure everything rises properly. And that's why I decided to do souffle style, because souffle style, making a meringue, that always helps your pastries rise. And just, you know, taste heavenly. So 1.5 teaspoon, so make sure it's a half teaspoon. Baking powder, and then I'm going to put the other half teaspoon when I do my meringue. So I'll put this aside right here, actually. And 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So I have some coarse sea salt. Now, remember, and I learned this from, oh, I forgot, Food Wishes channel. A very interesting YouTuber who has great recipes, and he did a upload about the difference between kosher salt and other salts, table salt, for example. So I'm using coarse sea salt here because this is all I have at the moment. But if you use kosher salt, I would recommend checking out Food Wishes upload on A Tale of Two Salts is the name of the upload. So you can get the measurements right, because it will ruin, it will affect your dish to the point of ruining it if you don't know the difference between, you know, kosher salt and other salts. So what we have here is 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm so glad I got this tool. But like I said, I eyeball. So peace everyone, peace Tyrone. Hope y'all can hear me. So yeah, 1/4. See, it's so convenient because it has all the measuring. You know, chefs, you guys aren't too impressed, but this it's like helps me a lot when I'm just someone who eyeballs a lot. So yeah, 1/4. And since this is coarse salt, I overdid it just a little bit since the salt is coarse. And again, you can always save, if the salt was a lot finer than the coarse sea salt, I would have saved the salt to loosen up the egg whites for the meringue. But because I have coarse salt, which can easily, you know, egg whites are so delicate, that can ruin the texture, you know. I chose to put the salt in the dry ingredients here and save the baking powder, which is a lot finer. And we're going to still use half teaspoon of baking powder. And then 1/2 cup of sugar. So because I'm going to put a generous amount of sugar in the meringue also, if all goes well, I'm going to do, what I have here is a mix of natural cane sugar and white sugar. So it has chunks and chunks in there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little less than half cup. So I'm gonna do a third cup, and then I'm gonna use the coconut palm sugar to compensate for that other little bit. So we have a half cup now of sugar altogether, but I'm going to use about that amount to make the meringue as well with the sugar. So this will be in the dry ingredient there. So that's how I'm modifying. It's another way of modifying it. Baking powder for the meringue and a little sugar for the meringue. So we're going to put a little more coconut sugar because it won't help. I want to have a nice, really authentic coconut flavor. I kind of had tried to get a Caribbean feel for the upload. I should start having background music, but nonetheless. So now what I'm going to do is, this is all the dry ingredients. So I'm going to sift them into this smaller one here. Just going to sift everything really quickly. Okay. As you can see, try and do it in front of the camera. I need like I need like a camera crew, at least like a cameraman, or maybe just better equipment. But so I'm just gonna go ahead and sift everything with this sifter. It's a nice sifter here. Just get any clumps out. Give it a quick go. And then I also have this beater as well to mix everything together. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you, Tyrone? Call Tyrone. Call. But this is sifting really nice. So after this, I have some reviews to do. I've been doing some dining since things have been opening, and I've been, ordering food at home. So I've been doing a lot of macarons. So I've been trying a lot of different macaron places. So pretty soon I'll have a review and a slight comparison of all the different venues I've tried macarons from. Still sifting everything. I have to do like this. Get the clumps out. Stops everything runs smoother. So let me know if you all have any questions about anything. Yeah, so this is like real time. I didn't have anything prepared or backed out because I wanted to do this one in real time for some reason. I just felt it'd be nice to just show you all the process, even like a trial and error process, and just what I've been up to lately in the kitchen. Because the way I do my soaps and some of the other products I make, I do actually go through a baking process. As you all see, I don't use the microwave like a lot of people do when they make their soap. I don't own a microwave. And I also, the same chopping that I do with my salads, I do that chopping for the ingredients of my soap. The rose, the eucalyptus. So I put the same, kitchen craft, the same witchcraft, into my food, into my soaps and my products and stuff. So now I just have a little extra ingredients here. It's kind of coarse, but I'm still going to throw them in. Okay. Everything's nice and sifted. So I'm just going to give everything a mix-a-roo. Mix it. Okay. So again, another thing with souffle style is you make a roux. So instead of doing a double boil heating method for cooking butter and then putting a little flour in it and then adding whatever flavoring, you know, chocolate typically, and then adding the egg yolk and then mixing it with the meringue, what I'm going to do is put this aside here. And so I still have my egg whites. And so I'm going to put this on top. I'm going to put everything here like that. So I got the egg whites, the sifted material sitting on top. And then I'm going to do the coconut oil. I'm not going to heat it. But the coconut oil will serve as the butter that would otherwise, you know, be heated. And then I'm going to mix that with we have 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. So that would be souffle style, putting that with the oil, butter, in the roux. And then we'll do the yogurt last. So we have 1/3 cup of coconut oil. Not much. One-third cup of coconut oil there. Brand new bottle of coconut oil. Okay. And so usually you would mix it with flour. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit more of this palm sugar, since it has a kind of a floury effect to it. I'm going to add a little more of this coconut palm sugar in there. And then the vanilla, which I have some of this made from Ugandan vanilla beans. It's Ugandan, and I'm shake your vanilla extract up. It is alcoholic, so give it a nice shake. Let the bubbles come up in there. And this one donates blah 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 blah. I never really know how much to trust some of these charities, but Ugandan vanilla, just kind of keeping it a Caribbean. Which is, deals with African migration and Taino, Arawak, Indian DNA. So, one tablespoon of vanilla extract. Generous amount. Shaking it up. Throw this vanilla extract into the coconut oil. And again, mixing the vanilla extract with the oil there, that will help. And what I'm going to also do is throw the egg yolks into this part. But I'm going to beat it a little bit, loosen everything up. Again, we have the coconut oil. I put a little more coconut sugar, modified that. Got the vanilla extract in there. I'll bring you guys over here. Peace, Dwayne. What are my thoughts on the trend of the African diaspora repatriating back to the continent? Is that something I consider, and what African tribe is my DNA? All right, hold on real quick. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm beating the coconut sugar. It's got the vanilla extract in there, and then I'm gonna put the 2 egg yolks, because like I said, I wanted to stay with the measurement. So I got the egg yolks and I separated the egg whites, which I'm gonna meringue. Should work out well. Throw that in the soapy water. Again, I have like limited space in my kitchen. The design is not very feng shui. So this is what I'm doing here, and I'm going to blend this together eventually. But what I want to do is try these coconut chunks that I've never tried. I don't know what the texture or consistency is. They're thick. Oh, wow. Okay. So it's really basically like unflaked coconut. And because I have coconut flakes here. But what I'm going to do, these organic coconut chunks are really good. I was going to blend some. Let me blend some real quick and see how that works. And maybe I'll use the organic ones instead of the sweetened coconut flakes. So I'm just going to throw some of these in the food processor real quick and see what that do. For Dwayne, what African tribe is my DNA? I don't know what African tribe my DNA is because my ancestry can be traced through my great-grandmother on my father's side to slavery, the slave trade. So we did have slaves in my family. Like most black people from Chicago, my American ancestry originates in Mississippi. And again, according to, what my father has said, our ancestry traces back to slavery through my great-grandmother on my father's side. Rest his soul. So the other thing about my father's side is his father. So we're, that's the matriarchal side, but my father's blood father was a full-blood Cherokee. We don't know much about him. He died when my father was in Vietnam in the war. But according to tribal DNA, the only tribal DNA that I know and understand that I have is Native American tribal DNA of the Cherokee tribe. This is on my father's side because on my mother's side, her family died in a house fire. She thus became a foster child. She grew up on the west side of Chicago, and the family that raised her were not her DNA relatives. My mother found her actual father and a sister of hers, I think in her late 30s, or mid 40s. So on my mother's side, I have no real concept of what my mother's DNA affiliation is other than African American. So that's really the best I can say in terms of African. I've been claimed by every African country, individuals from every African continent that I've encountered have pretty much claimed that I could be from that part. From Nigeria to Ethiopia to Cameroon, Kenya, Eritrea, Cote d'Ivoire. So in terms of my look, I've also had whites and Europeans question whether or not I'm mixed. A lot of that having to do with my body shape and me not having the typical voluptuous assets of a West African or African American female stereotypically. So I gather, and I'm willing to bet that there is a lot of Arawak and Dahomey, which is modern day coastal Nigeria, I believe. I think there's probably some Egyptian and Indian, meaning like Middle Eastern, West African, like Indian. I feel East Africa, Middle East, and India. Kush. I feel very Kushite, so to speak. Other than that, that's the best I can do. I don't really necessarily every race of people I've encountered have looked at me and sought to claim my phenotype. So I just feel that there's a reason that I look a certain way because of my role as Black High Priestess, which is to elevate Black femininity back to its proper throne, and to unite people in a way, in a spiritual way that will elevate humanity to divinity, to its proper divinity. So I'm going to blend the coconuts and see how that works, and I'm going to answer the second part of your question. Okay, now I think I blended them, and I think I do like these. It's flaky, but it's still a bit moist, and it's organic. So I think I'm going to use these coconut flakes instead of the other sweetened pre-made ones, for just to kind of coat and top the cake off. So I'm going to throw that in there, and I'm going to save those coconut chunks. But I'll throw some in the roux. I'll throw some in. See how it works. See how it turns out. I have my soapy water here. But I'm gonna blend all this together. And then I'm gonna bust out the yogurt and then get to the fun part. So yeah, and this becomes nice and thicker. This it becomes like a roux also with the coconut added. So there we go. This is working nicely. I don't even think I have to bust out the blender yet for this. I'm just going to go ahead and use this and add this to the dry ingredients with the yogurt. Now, Dwayne says, what are your thoughts on the trend of the African diaspora repatriating back to the continent? Is this something I would consider? I have considered it. I've done a lot of consideration to that over the past decade. I think it's very circumstantial. I think if you as a Black person are stable in America, and here's the thing. Most Black people, here's the thing. The vast majority of Black Americans have access to wealth, prosperity, a stable income, stable living, education. What we see promoted in the media and creates the propaganda that is marketed and promoted in the conscious community, because the conscious community is still run by COINTELPRO agents. So the conscious community has a lot of rhetoric. Black America now, we're still in Black America. In Black America, conscious community and the underground Black revolutionary circuit, there's still a lot of rhetoric that you need to have an inferiority complex to speak and comprehend and understand. Most of the rhetoric and the teachings in the conscious community are speaking to people who feel oppressed, but are not actually enslaved. These are people who feel oppressed and feel inferior because as Black Americans, we are oppressed. But a lot of it is so occult that if you don't have any spiritual understanding, you are just really stereotypical. You really have to have a deeper spiritual understanding of the actual oppression, because the oppression of Black people is purely spiritual at this point. There is political propaganda that controls the narrative, but the revolution is not televised. So if you are actually in the Black revolutionary agendas and community and solution-oriented circuits, and you yourself as an individual are a solution-oriented Black revolutionary, you are actively creating those solutions, and that is extremely lucrative for a Black American, especially if you're from poverty and you can figure out a way to create solutions for Black people in the Black community and get paid for it. That's huge. So the reality in terms of repatriation, Black people who are actively revolutionaries, that is an option, but we're kind of on our square doing stuff here and helping Black people here. And that's valuable to us because we're making a difference here. And those of us who are doing that and who do think politically, we're looking at Africa like it's obvious worldwide that African leaders are just now wising up. It took Black Panther coming out in 2016 or 17 or 18, whenever it came out. It took Black Panther coming out to wake up Africa. Black Americans who have education and who have the intellectual prowess to be a solution-oriented revolutionary, not an inferiority-complected one, understand the world history. Africans sold us. The Caucasian did not waltz into Africa and defeat genetically dominant men and women. There was politics behind that. So all this asking for reparations and everything, that's good and that's well, but it's no different than being a welfare queen. Black revolutionaries have never waited on reparations, because who are we asking reparations for? A government that allows Black people to get free money every time you pop out a baby? Or if you actually do come from poverty? Or the Black male celebrities who have millions of dollars of wealth that they splurge on white women who create generation after generation of mulatto white supremacy? Who are we asking reparations from? The Black millionaires who Black Americans worship, that actively reject Black women and degrade Black women and elevate white women and procreate with white women for mulatto imperialism? Are we asking from the Black male elite who hate Black women and marry white? Are we asking reparations for them? Or are we asking reparations from the government that already gives us free money for being niggers? So when you're actually a Black revolutionary, repatriation to Africa is an option, but it's not the solution. We are the solution. So I think it's a good option, but I have not been to Africa. Africa has been to me spiritually. So it's great if you need to get away. I think it'd probably be a good thing for Black people who have gone through such dire circumstances that the traumatic experience in America needs to be, that you need to kind of escape that and get away from that. But the average Black American is choosing to be a nigger. Nobody is making us be inferior. It is Black people choosing to feel inferior. Because otherwise you would sue like people do, or protest, or get the legalities taken care of when racism, because if it's racism, you can take it to court somehow and things like that. And we're not going to get fair treatment from the government, so to speak. But all I'm getting at is, the revolution's not televised. There's a whole Black Wall Street happening. There's a whole movement happening that you're not going to see on TV. But if you choose to watch the right YouTube channels, if you choose to follow the right individuals who are creating solutions and doing things and have upstanding marriages and communities and families that are role models, and people who have African spiritual tribal communities that are offering services the way they should be. There's a lot going on that's not being televised, that you can get involved in, that you're not going to need Africa for. Africa, and I haven't been there. I'm not talking for all of Africa, but politically, Black America is way ahead of Africa politically. Africa has a bunch of wealth, and the African leaders are just now figuring out they don't have to let white people do what they've been letting white people do for the past 1,000 years. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. All I'm saying is you don't have to feel inferior. There's places where you can, there's places and things you can do right here in America, and get involved in, because a lot of Blacks are going to Africa and realizing Africa's looking to us for their freedom. They more enslaved than us. You're African, we Black Africans, I think, follow Black Americans and look to us for leadership more than we look to them for anything. And if you look at the logic behind it, I don't feel going to Africa has anything to offer the movement that Black America has started that gets globalized. America is globalized. We are globalized. So Black Americans are globalized. It's up to us to show our appreciation for our African roots, so Africa could start being proud of themselves again. I'm not trying to sound cocky, but I am an American, and I don't see what Africa has to offer the Black revolutionary movements other than us taking our resources. I feel like Black Americans going in Africa helps Africa more than it helps Black Americans. And that is an argument. Again, I get a lot of flack for hashtagging MAGA and talking about the inferiority of Black men and everything, but I didn't grow up learning from, Black revolutionary men with inferiority complexes. I grew up with a good education, with upper middle class kids who had wealth and things, and I had poverty. So I had to learn where I stood in the grand scheme of things while getting the education needed to compete and surpass white supremacy. My Black counterparts in Chicago was not getting that education. These niggas still can't talk proper English. So there's a whole mentality that comes with being a revolutionary, and there's levels to it, you know. So I think going to Africa is a great therapeutic vacation for Black Americans. But we have to learn to take responsibility as individuals and stop thinking the grass is greener in Africa or in Europe, or with marrying a white person, or with wearing weave to get accepted by white people. Or you know, those are the things that I preach. I didn't have to go to Africa to get initiated into Vodou. The Orisha came to me and found me worthy. I didn't have to be in Africa, go to know African, because the spirits are not limited to know Africa and know African. That's the truth. And that's the truth that they killed Malcolm X for. Because when you really get spiritual, you can't still be no nigger. You can't have it both ways. You can't be no slave and no nigger and have an inferiority complex and also elevate spiritually, you know. So that's where there's options. This is where options come in. And you would not have options if you were a slave. It's an option. Peace, everybody. I'm still making coconut pound cake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this roux, and it's settled a bit. So I'm going to take this and start just kind of I'm just going to mix it. I'm just going to pour it into the dry ingredients here. Get everything in the dry ingredients. And I'm going to go ahead and pop that water in the oven and let it steam up a bit, since I've been chatting and it's been preheating for a while. So like I said, I don't want it to be too hot. And so I'm going to mix those ingredients. Let me pop this water in the oven. And then I'll answer the next, I'll answer the next question. So like I said, I put the water in here to keep moisture in the oven, put it on the bottom rack so the moisture rises. Or you can just pop your pan of dough or whatever mix in a larger pan with the water sitting in it. So here, I'm going to mix these together, which is this is going to be the roux, which is the coconut oil mixed with the little coconut flakes, all the dry ingredients, the egg yolks, and vanilla. And so I'm going to be mixing this up together, and then I'm going to, as it kind of thickens, I'm going to go ahead and add the yogurt, and then I'm going to soufflé. Can we really make a difference in the U.S. when there will always be a ceiling? I am aware that the U.S. does have some kind of power in Africa too, but there's definitely strength in numbers, right? You can make a difference anywhere. Here's the thing. That's what, when you have a victim mentality, and when you're committed to having a victim mentality and being oppressed, you operate a certain way. Like I said, I grew up a certain way where my understanding of oppression came from the fact that I saw that even in giving equal rights and equal opportunity, that black men will still choose white women. Black men who have education, have the ability to uplift us in our race, and the women are going to choose to sell out. That sisters who have education and have better opportunities are still going to choose to wear weave to fit in looking white. My parents didn't teach me to sell out, and my mama didn't teach me to have no fake beauty. So you can make a difference anywhere. Every time I walk out the door, I make a difference in a black woman's life, because there's black women who have locks who still come up to me and want to touch my hair and ask me and this and that. Why? Because again, my phenotype. I carry myself differently. So there's a different energy to my hair, that even if a sister has the same hair texture, she's trying to figure out What is it that I have that's different? You can, when you're different, you make a difference just by being yourself. And black people are afraid to be themselves in America. So I'm technically, while I'm here in America, I'm making more of a difference than going to Africa, where I'm a dime a dozen, especially if you East Africa and my body shape is not so abnormal because everybody thinks black women look like Sarah Bartman, you see. So you have to be different to make a difference. You can't make no difference if you just out here a clone. And black people are naturally different, but when people of my race are so busy trying to look white and act white and fuck with white women to get ahead, and because they're so afraid of the white male power structure, or things like that, black men be using women as shields, whether it's interracial dating to fit into that wealth, or whether it's letting black women do all the work and looking at black women as mamas. And, black men are programmed to use black women as shields. This stuff goes back to Jim Crow and slavery. But the reality of it is I'm coming from a perspective where black people with money and with education and with Christian morality still choose to act like niggers and think like niggers. And that's why black people who don't have the proper role models can celebrity niggers and make niggers role models. The white power structure does that. But if you have proper education in the home, like black revolutionaries and the underground circuit where it's not televised, we have that education. I had a revolutionary father to teach me, and I had a mother who was religious. So I never, when you have religious moral structure, some people get caught up with that whole white supremacy thing. But like I said, I had a black revolutionary father. So I'm not going to get programmed by propaganda that paints Jesus as white. You have to be different to make a difference. And you have to be willing to accept that you're not going to become no millionaire if you wasn't born a millionaire, inherit a millionaire, or sell your soul. So if you want to make a difference, you can do that. But if you want to make money and get clout and get famous and have a large platform, then you're going to do things that are not going to allow you to make a difference, because you're going to do things that everybody else had to do to get the platform that they have that ain't doing a goddamn thing for black people, especially sisters. You can't find a sister in Hollywood. They all lighten their skin and straighten their hair. You not no sister no more. So you can't make no difference trying to be Hollywood. You can make a difference wanting to make a difference and then being different. And a lot of times, if you're a black American, being different starts with being yourself. And black Americans don't want to be African American. They don't want to own the slavery. They don't want to, you got to go to the revolutionary circuit, and you got to go to the right revolutionary circuit. Not just no niggas. You got to go with black people who are about business. Check out these people's wives. Check out their track record. Don't just follow no hoe who's talking about sacred femininity and her track record, so she just a hoe. Don't follow no nigga out here trying to pump polygamy and pimping and stuff, when there's plenty of black men who will let you know from the gate that you don't need polygamy or a bunch of different wives and women to express manhood. So I'm about to get cut off, so I'm gonna have to go live again to finish this upload and finish the whole baking process. But I'm gonna show you all the final results. I might just have to do the pictures and everything. I hope you enjoy it. Listen, learn, like, subscribe, follow me on IG, and I'll see you in the next upload.